So how can we now add a badge to our package right here? Well, I think a good starting point would be to go to the HTML file right here and add such a badge right there in the HTML code. For that, we have to go to our packages class right here, this one, and we need the plus package because that's the one we want to recommend. So let's maybe add the element right here, another h2 element, and we could give it a class, of course, of package badge, maybe. This makes sense, again, with our BEM notation right here. And let's maybe write or name it recommended with capital letters, like that. This looks like this now. Well, not really beautiful yet, but we'll see how we can change that. But at least we have our recommended text already here. The question now is, how can we change the position, because that's what this module is about, right now, to position this badge right here, maybe in the right upper part of our package. Of course, we could maybe add a left margin or a bottom margin, but I don't think that would work, and that would be a good idea from a code perspective. But maybe we can use this position fixed declaration to, well, kind of position it right here, because it worked with the navigation bar. So why don't we give it a try and see if we can use that knowledge? So let's go back to our packages CSS file and remember package underscore underscore badge. That's the class we want to refer to. And why don't we add that new class maybe right here before the package subtitle? So it was package underscore underscore badge. And now we learned that we can use position fixed like that. Let's see what happens now if we go back. Yeah, the recommended badge is taken out of the document flow. It's positioned in the middle of nowhere though. So we learned how to change that. We can simply add top 0 and left 0, right? Like that. So let's reload it again. Now it's positioned to the left of the viewport, and we also have a distance to the top. Yeah, this is the margin. I think we can keep this margin. This is fine. We can maybe even add a margin for the entire element. Let's see how big this margin was. Right here in the developer tools. Yeah, we have a default margin of almost 20 pixels. So let's maybe add such a margin now. 20 pixels, like that. And with that, yeah, we got the badge position in the left upper corner of our viewport. Well, this is nice, and we could now play around with that and, for example, increase left to, I don't know, 400 pixels to have a bigger distance right here, like that. Yeah, we're getting closer. And then we could add a little bit more for the top distance, maybe 50 pixels, just guessing, like that. So it's moving down. But as you can see, this is a lot of trial and error, and in the end, the core problem is that the recommended badge would be related to the viewport, and if we scroll down, well, it would behave like that. Definitely not the behavior we want to have for such a badge. So maybe there is another value for our position property which brings us closer to the behavior we want. The good news is there is, because we can simply change position fixed to position absolute, like that. Now that we changed it to absolute, let's see if that changes our website. Apparently nothing changed, but let's scroll down. And as we can see, if we scroll down now, the element is no longer stuck to the viewport, it is now stuck to, well, to what is it stuck actually? Well, for absolutely positioned elements, the positioning context is defined based on two cases. If none of the ancestors, so of the parent elements, has a position property applied, well, then the positioning context of our element is simply the HTML element. If we have the second case, that we have any position ancestors, then the closest ancestor which has the position property applied is the positioning context for this element. Now let's see what is the case in our situation. If we simply change top 50 pixels to top 0 once again, like that, and reload the page, well, we can see that our element apparently is stuck to the HTML element, because that's actually the element that wraps the entire website. If we would change that and now add a position property to our package class though, right here, so let's add position absolute right there. As you can see in the index.html file, we are in this class right here, and the package class is an ancestor. If we reload the page right now, well, this kind of crashes our entire website, because now all the packages are displayed with an absolute value. And as we know, this takes all the elements out of the document flow, and therefore we have this mess. But isn't there another position value that we could apply that doesn't crash our entire website? Well, yes it is, and we'll have a look at this value later. But for the moment, we will simply apply it to our package class right here, and this value is relative, like that. With that, if we reload the page, we can see two interesting things already. Apparently, the relative value doesn't take our elements out of the document flow, but as I said, we'll dive deeper into that later. And the second interesting thing is that the positioning context of our recommended element right here now changed to the closest ancestor, which has a position property applied. And this is the anchor, but if we unselect the inspect tool, we can see that the package class basically is this ancestor, as we also saw it right here in the HTML code. So the badge, and then we have the package class right there. So what have we seen so far? The fixed and the absolute value are quite comparable in general. Both take the elements out of the document flow if you apply these values to these elements. But for the fixed value, the positioning context always is the viewport. For the absolute value, the positioning context depends. If you don't have any ancestors with a positioning property applied, then the positioning context is the HTML element. We saw that right here. If you have ancestors with the position property applied, then the element, the absolutely positioned element, will be positioned in relation to the closest ancestor which has such a position property applied. With that, we basically made sure that our badge is at least positioned inside the right package, but we didn't position the badge itself. Let's see how this works in the next video now.